So I recently did a video on the men's duck boot, and in that video I explained some of the differences between a duck boot. This applies to men's duck boots and women's duck boots, as well as men's snow boots and women's snow boots. The difference between the two, and I'm going to highlight the differences again, and I'm actually going to show you a men's snow boot. This is the Sorel PAC boot. It's one of their toughest, and we'll go through that real quick. So when it comes to duck boots, I explained that they're not snow boots and they're not hiking boots, so they're not going to fit like hiking boots. They're not going to feel as good. I'm not going to go over the variances between the different brands in this one, but some of the biggest things I highlighted were, between the difference between a duck boot and a snow boot is the insulation. So whereas a duck boot has a little bit of insulation, this is the soft felt lining, a snow boot has a lot more. I'm going to cover that in a second in detail. The other major difference was the snowproof / waterproof ability, or whatever you want to call it. But whereas a duck boot, it's going to definitely be waterproof up until about here. And this material is waterproof, but in terms of not getting water or snow inside your boot, it technically only closes up to here, right? This is all technically open, whereas in a snow boot, and I'll show you in a second, it's sealed right up to here. Now, when you tie these tight, as I said, these will form a seal, but it's technically not totally waterproof or snowproof for that matter. The treads are another a big difference. We'll show that. So those are the major differences. Again, with a snow boot, you're not going to be wearing that in the middle of April when it rains, whereas these you can. And you're not going to be in the backcountry with your snow boots. If you're mucking out in the middle of a rainstorm, if you're in a snowstorm and you're shoveling your driveway, yeah, these will be okay. But there's really no protection, or I shouldn't say protection, but there's no warmth generally in between the sole and your foot. There's no midsole protection. I'm going to show you what that's like in here. It's the complete opposite. These are the Sorel PAC boots. These are the men's version. I covered the ladies' version in another video, but this boot has a 2.5 millimeter bonded felt frost plug. That means in between your foot, the outer sole, your foot, there's actually insulation in there to keep your foot warm. Not only that, but on the inside, this is 9.5 millimeters of washable felt, okay? This is 9.5 millimeters. The women's version, the Joan of Arctic Sorel boot, only has 6.5 millimeters, and that's their top of the line warmest boot. This is literally 9.5 millimeters. This is removable. This is super warm. You can see how thick that is. This up top is just called, they refer to this to as a Sherpa pile, whatever. This basically keeps the snow out if it's actually snowing out. Keeps it out, from getting inside the boot in your jeans. Now, here's the biggest thing that I talk about, what you need to look for, because a lot of snow boots don't always have this. They advertise themselves as snow boots, but they're not fully. This is sealed all the way through. This is not open at all. So you can literally be snow up to here, 7, 8 inches, 9 inches tall in height, and you're protected. This on the outside is just canvas, but it is waterproof. These are little hooks that help you get it on. This is made by Sorel. Sorel's got the name, as you all know. As far as we already talked about the midsole, but the outer sole, this is all handcrafted, vulcanized rubber, the rubber shell. And on the bottom, this is where they also differentiate. This is going to give you a lot of traction. Even look how they differentiate where the toe is. It's a different wave pattern versus here and on the heel. So they've obviously given this a lot of thought. They know it works. And yeah, this is a heavy boot. This is a kick-ass, I hate to use the language, but no other way to describe a boot. When you walk through these, you don't care what you're walking through. I don't care how much slush you're in. I don't care how much snow you're in or how cold it is outside. These are going to get you to where you're going. They're going to get you through whatever activity you're trying to do. Snowmobiling, not quite snowshoeing, but just walking from here to there. Nothing to worry about when you're with these. Very well constructed. You see these tabs. You can pull on these. This is not coming off. These are rings. These are technically not waterproof, but who cares? These are nice and thick to get your hands around, even when you have gloves on. People, these little things that they've thought about, as opposed to these thin laces. Beautiful. They're not cheap, but they're arguably worth it, because these are something that should last you, hopefully your lifetime. Because most people are not wearing them that often. It just depends upon where you live and how active you are. But even if you are, until you wear these out, you're good to go, and that should be a while. I guess in theory you could put little heel things on here to prevent wear, but generally if you're using these, you're going to be walking on snow or some ice or whatever, and so these are not going to wear out as quickly as your shoe would. Something else to think about. But anyway, those are the major differences between the duck boot and a snow boot, and these are the highlights of the Sorel men's snow boot, their PAC version. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you found this at all helpful, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more, subscribe down below. Thank you for joining me.